happy Monday. This is Overpass Live. My name is Eric and I make apps. This is the weekly live stream where we just hang around and we talk about whatever we want to talk about. Now, things are a little bit different here today. I'm just using the webcam on the computer today just because I've been so busy, man. I've been busy today's like a dedicated Overpass day. So today I was working on my own applications. So I was like trying to squeeze in as much as I can. Right now, what I'm trying to do is I have an application that's using a Firestore database, which is fine, right? Yeah, but every time, like, NoSQL works great in certain scenarios, and other scenarios, it's not so great, in my opinion, right? Like, I hate having to write a report. If I want to write a report over a huge amount of data, I hate having to loop through everything, or the queries just aren't as, like, just having a simple like query, or just having a simple, like, if you were going to have something like I wanted to show like a leaderboard, for example, to do that in SQL is just easy, right? It's like the top of scores in a certain amount of time. To do it in even just to do it like just dynamically, just through a console. So I miss having SQL. So what I'm trying to do now, and I don't know if this is the best idea or not, is I'm putting event handlers, or I'm putting the triggers on the objects on the Firestore database. So every time an object gets written to, it also gets a statement sent to a SQL database, a MySQL database. So I have that MySQL database in the background, which I can use for reporting, but I could also use the main application for everything else, right? So for the actual running of the application. The only thing is I have to make sure that that SQL statement is non-blocking, so it doesn't stop everything from, so it still runs, and it doesn't it doesn't slow down the execution of the application itself. So hopefully that way I'll have the best of both worlds. So when I have my management reporting and everything, I want to have everything in there. So that's what I've been working on today, as well as doing some other stuff. So I got a few client things here and there that I have to just sort of pick up and deal with, and they're just like minor things. Like I got feedback on an application today, which was like certain font sizes needed to change, stuff like that. So easy stuff, probably take me about an hour, and then it just, it's just like I wanted to work on my own stuff today. So that's what I've been doing. And so when it came time to set up the camera and everything, I thought I'll just we'll just do it like this. We'll just do the webcam today. And like when on live, so hopefully you guys could hear me. I'm just I just having a rant. But like when usually on my live stream days, it's like, okay, I can't do that. I got a live stream. Tell everybody I can't do it. I got a live stream, and I got a delivery coming. So at some point, possibly, the doorbell will ring and I'll have to go get it. I'll just like leave you guys here for a few minutes, which will be weird. I should have made a waiting screen actually, or a be right back screen, so you guys aren't like, checking all my stuff when I'm gone. Case in the joint. Well, I got to go wait for. So I'll leave on the top floor of this apartment building. So I have to wait for the guy to come up the stairs and everything. So if that happens, apologies that I got to go get the Amazon parcel showing up. So, but thanks for showing up. So let's see. Fist007 says, "Hey Eric, what's up, man? I'm doing pretty good. I'm under COVID attack, so not quite well at all. Could have been worse though. How are you doing? How's your business? Business is going well. Sorry about the COVID stuff. It's I haven't had COVID yet, so that's my. I'm not. I mean, it seems like we're all gonna get it, doesn't it? That's kind of when I say yet, I actually mean like ain't none of us gonna get out of it unscathed. But so I haven't got it yet. My business is going okay. It's going all right. It's like I'm working on something. It's kind of this, like I'm doing some contract work, which is great. But I'm also, the other time I'm trying to work on my own application on something. It's something where I try to get other developers to do it, and it's just easier for me just to pick it up and do it. But Fist007, you'll be glad to know I'm doing it in Xamarin Forms, so that's the way I went with it, and with Firebase backend. But let's see. Hope the troops have the last word through. Otherwise, I'm screwed. Hope my troops have the last. Is it with the COVID attack? Let's see. Ahmed, how's it going? How are you? Ahmed, are you shouting at me? How are you? This is Ahmed from KSA Riyadh. Hey, how's it going, Ahmed? I'm doing good. Let's see. Fist007 says, just a general business question. Do you pay for retirement plan in the UK or the US or both? I have a UK pension. Why do I have a UK pension and not a US pension? To be honest with you, up until this moment in my life, I've never even thought about it. Like, my plan was always to go back to the States even though now I'm thinking I want to do more of a digital nomad thing. But my plan was always I'd go back to the States. Like that's where I would, grow old and just find myself a nice little plot of land and sit on the porch on a porch swing and just, but yeah, I don't know why I've never thought of it. I think I was being hassled. I was being a bit hassled about you need to get a pension, you get a pension, you get a pension. So I was like, finally, I said, fine, I'll pay into a pension. So that's what I do. So, but then I also pay into the like the government stuff, like paying Social Security in the States. I pay PAYE, which is stands for I can't remember, but so yeah, I do PAYE here in England. Adrian, hey, how's it going? Hey, what's up? What's shaking? Are we rich yet? Nah, not yet. You know what? It's those January blues. Well, actually, just February blues now. It's just like I kind of like. So I got hit with my taxes, my corporate taxes, at the end of January or at the end of December. Like it's just like that time, like right. So I got Christmas, and then right after that, I got my corporate taxes, and so I had to pay those, and that was like my bank account was like really healthy before that, but. So I paid all my corporate taxes, and I had to pay my personal taxes in January. So I'm just sort of like now I'm just sort of licking my wounds a little bit, thinking, God, you know what? I'm trying to like just get by so I can work on my own stuff for a little bit. And the downside of that is like, you ain't gonna be seeing any Mustangs soon. I'll tell you that. That's for me. I feel someone said, in my opinion, organization was always a good thing, and an organized database is a must for any almost app, unless you want to use something advanced to handle flat file storage. Yeah, I mean this is the thing with so for these guys just tuning in, I'm trying to take a Firestore database and use a SQL Server backend. So I want to have a reporting database, not SQL Server, MySQL backend. So I want to have like a reporting database, right? So I like the real time. Well, I'm using Firestore, but I like the updates, and I like how quick Firestore is, but I want to have something with like tabular data so I can run reports off of it and not have to, one of the things I did a lot in corporate environment was just report writing, right? Just thinking, you think about take any database, you're thinking all the reports you could write from it. And I knew a lot of developers, it wasn't they lacked imagination. They just lacked tough bosses. So I like bosses that were just like, how would this look if we ran it through this? How would we look if we compared it to this? What if we compared these two groups over here? And it was just like you're constantly you got good at, SQL. Yeah, but after a while, it was just like, you start thinking, well, the more granular you store your data, the better you could report on it. But when it comes to Firestore, using a NoSQL or any NoSQL database, every time I want to query something, it's just I have to write code to do it, and it's just like, and sometimes I just want to check things out. I don't want to have to write some code, run some Node.js or whatever. And I know there's stuff. There's like I use this Firestore client called Firefoo, which is really good, especially for looking at custom claims and making sure those are all getting set and everything. But and I guess you could query a bit with that, but like, so I like the flexibility of MySQL. So I'm doing that, even though everything I've read says, oh, that's just, why duplicate it? So, and also I've had a client say, oh, we've had similar things to this before. They just give us access to the database. I'm going, well, there's no database. This is a NoSQL database. They go, well, what does that mean? And they're actually treating it like I gave them less of a solution, even though it's way better. But so. A pizza for later pizza time. Yeah, I'm trying to not. I did okay. I'm trying to like everybody, beginning of the year, trying to lose a little bit of weight. I put on like at least 10 pounds over Christmas. At least I put over more than 10 pounds over Christmas. I know because I weigh myself. Get us, DMA. How's it going? I'm doing really, really good. I'm using this light here, so it might look a bit flushed, but. Let's see. It says, what's your main track? Back end, front end, or mobile? My main track is mobile. So, but again, I'm a software developer, so I do all of them. I think any software developer needs to know, like, you could be really good at one thing, but you kind of need to know how it all works. The same way if you're a musician, it's good to learn how other instruments work too, because otherwise you're just a one trick pony. So like I could, design a database, I could, build a database, write an API, and somebody who's a dedicated server guy, maybe he might do that better. But like that's I can still carry my own in those areas. And when it comes to design, my design is terrible, but just knowing basic CSS is important for a developer too. So, or CSS or whatever, reading books like Don't Make Me Think or the design. There's a book called Mobile Design Patterns by O'Reilly, which has nothing to do with design patterns from the Gang of Four. It's just like, but it's a sort of like mobile design UI layout. So knowing just the UI UX basics and then also the front end stuff. I mean, even just being able to do some of that stuff, and I've worked in all those different areas. Probably, but back end is the one I've always found the most boring, I guess you could say. What do you do, Ahmed? Let's see. Fifth episode. The headache is the worst part of the COVID. It's nuts. Wow, I didn't think about that. Let's see. Geta says buying ASO help wasn't the best idea. We'll write it myself. Yeah. How did that go? Because I've never paid anybody for ASO. I always think it's like, it's. I've had people ask me if I would do their ASO for them. And I'm like, oh, there's other people who do that. Like, to me, I can't see a way of doing that without having to make changes to the application, right? There's a lot of things there. And basically, you'd be selling a promise for something that you had no certainty you could deliver. And because it's a black art. So, if it was a certainty, then you could be like every other job where you only get paid based on results. Like, you deliver, be first ranking on Google or whatever they promise you, and then we pay you based on that. But nobody has that kind of certainty because it's not that kind of industry. So and also just doing it yourself, you'll learn the basics of it, and then it's like you'll know how to craft the application. I think a little bit like when I do videos. For a while, I hired a video editor, just because I thought I was doing them every day, and I thought if I got a video editor, because I could do basic editing, I could do decent editing. Again, it's kind of like a real editor could do a much better job. The same way, like as a software developer, you learn a different side. So if I was going to do these videos, I might as well learn some basic editing. But then I was like, you know what, I want to get like a professional to do it, and so I got a full-time guy just to do my video editing, and he was really good at first, and then he just sort of started to trail off. And there was also that when I do it myself, like just learning how this stuff works, I started to film my camera, like put my camera in different places and do different stuff, because I think, okay, if I film this, then I can overlay that part on this part where I say this or whatever. So it's like so what I'm saying about the ASO stuff is learning the basics of ASO is it's not like you just build the app and then you give it to someone else. Take care of this. It's like you could be thinking about that while you're building the application, and anything that you're putting, while you're building your next app, you'll know those basics. So, yeah, I think I'm just a bit skeptical when it comes to like hiring other people to do that kind of stuff. I'm just, I just am. Like I hired an SEO person once, or an SEO company. It was actually the firm that was the development company that was doing my one of my applications. They said, "Oh, we're also doing SEO. We do SEO with us." I'm like, "No, we'll give you a really good deal. We'll give you." I was like, okay, right." And basically, they had this guy come and says, and he tells me stuff I already know. Like, so basically, you've got black hat and white hat. So black hat is, I know what that is. Yeah, but so black hat is white hat, and then you have gray hat. It's like, and it kept going on about it, and then everything was like stuff I had to change on the website. It's like, it wasn't like he's going to go out there and do keyword management. First of all, he's asking me about keywords, and it's like, dude, help me with that. Like, isn't that kind of your job to do keyword stuff, or like, And it was like, oh, you need to add this to the website. You do this. I was like, you're basically just making my website look like every other website, and I did kind of start going down and making these changes, but I had like no confidence in the guy. So all I did was just lose out a bunch of money. So let's see. If Sublo says, I've been trying as hard as I possibly can to put on some weight, but with no success. I only weigh under 100 pounds for 5'8". Really? So I'm up at, I think I'm about 194. So like, so I'm overweight. I am overweight. So my ideal weight is, I think, 172, And the last time I was 172. God, who was president? Bush Senior? Clinton. It was Clinton probably. So it was a while ago. And this is kind of this thing you're always struggling with. I'll put on muscle, and the muscle helps because it's people don't notice the fat as much, but dude, I notice it. So yeah, you're lucky. You're lucky you start from that point. Putting weight on. Oh my God, what do? You just like oh man, I can't bother eating another pizza. Charles, hey Charles, how's it going? My first Android app which contains ads is not showing the ads. However, when I test it, it shows. Any help from me as I'm a new mobile dev? Have you got any email from them? What does AdMob say? Because what I would do is check your AdMob to see if you're getting the request through. If you're getting the request and just not the fulfillment of the request, then at least you're doing the right thing. And they could be limiting ads because you're a new developer and everything like that. So just hold out there. Another thing you could do is do some ad mediation. So bring in another network through AdMob. So if AdMob doesn't have anything to deliver, then you could also do. I'm assuming you're using AdMob, but you could be using any network because you didn't actually say. But so at least then you would have other. You have the placement. You might as well be filling it with something. So if AdMob doesn't have anything for you or whatever, they limit you for whatever reason, you'll have something else going in there at that time. So you'll still have the same placement. Smash Highlights. Hey, how's it going? Hi, Eric. Have you ever been interested in game development for consoles? I'm hoping to apply for a Nintendo Switch dev kit soon. I never have. No, I've never been. Nope. And it's not for financial reasons. It's just like, to me, it seems like that's like a huge other thing. I think because mobile dev has just seemed to be more accessible to me at the time as more of a more of a corporate developer. So thinking about, like when I even just learning about the concepts of game development was like a bit shocking to me, because I can remember me and another guy, we were talking about game development, like how would it work? Like, it's weird that you have these characters that follow you around and sorry, damn little flies. It's weird that you have these characters that follow you around wherever you go. So like you go into the next room, you come back in. They don't like. I remember in the Atari days where just like you would leave a room and you'd go back into the room, and that character or that whatever it was, that enemy would start at the same place that when you first went into it, and it just sort of resets itself. But now they're much smarter and everything. And then you start learning about the game loop and having that's object-oriented programming. Object-oriented programming is something that every developer learns. Every developer learns how important it is, but in game development, it's hugely important. Like, that's where you really start to see how important it is, where you have like you have your main player, and and you have all your other assets and everything like that. So when you call in that game loop, and you can have as many, load all of those into an array and have them all render onto your canvas, and constantly every single frame, they each have their own little idea of what they should be doing. So like if you were to code that all in one spaghetti code without using objects, it would be impossible. But then when you have something that's saying, see, bad guy, whatever, alien basically will look for the player character, and it would have its velocity, how many pixels does it move each frame. It would have like the direction it's going. If it goes up and down, it's it would just be like if it reaches a certain point, it goes back down. If it goes after the character, it would always look for the position of the player and go after the player. And I just found that fascinating. But it would get stuff like on a huge scale, like for consoles, I think that's still probably way outside my thing. And also, it would probably be fun, but like, I think it would just, when you look at the competition that's out there, it's like, I don't know. Have you guys, who out there has ever done that besides, so Smash Lights, let me know how that goes. But has anybody else done any console development out there? Can you try paid ASO SEO just to try it? And it will give you a tax deduction. Yeah. I don't know. I think, what? I have a real time, I think what it is I have a real time talking to so-called experts, like, and especially when you start asking questions, you realize, this is like, you don't know as much as you claim to know or whatever. That was what happened with the SEO guys. One of the reasons why I've never hired a personal trainer. I just have this thing about like somebody who's 20 years old, like, so what you need to do here is, bend at the knees or whatever. Like, just like, come on, man, like, just someone with more experience and all this kind of stuff. It's, I suppose if somebody was able to say, we've done this for the, here's my track record, I've done all this kind of stuff, then yeah, but I don't know. I have one of the reasons I like being an indie developer is because, like, when it comes to my own applications, nobody tells me what to do. No one tells me what to do. And when you have like an SEO person coming or an ASO person coming, so what you need to do is change your character. Have you ever thought about this? And basically what they're doing is they're looking at everything else. Like, you're trying to create something unique, and they're looking at everything else and trying to say what all these people are doing are right and what you're doing is wrong. But they don't know, right? Sometimes you just got to test this stuff, right? They don't know it any more than you do. Well, maybe they do. I don't know, but. Let's see. The guy who get us about his ASO person, the guy who did it added some existing features and content to the description, and some of the wording misrepresented the goal of the app. I had that. When I released an app in China, when I released EarSpy in China, so I had to went through this company. That was a huge mistake too, because first of all, they said that I would have control over the whole app store, and basically what they did was they put it on their app store entry. So I didn't have any access to the reviews or the pricing or anything like that. It was just basically they would give me a report every so often. I was like, well, that's stupid. And then they said the spy icon won't work in China. I was like, okay, right. And so he started suggesting other things, and it basically suggested this cartoon character with like this guy just like this like cartoon like mouse or something going like this with his ear. And I was like, dude, that's like not, that's totally the wrong feel for this application. It was like, but he was the expert. And so he was like, yeah, right. So you know what? All those experts could just go, they could just get lost for all I care. I mean, I just, I don't know. Let's see. Zenobui's Tasak says, how low an IQ person working as a programmer? I don't know in terms of IQ. I know that I never, so I will tell you, for me, I have no idea what my IQ is. I don't think I've ever been tested for my IQ. I imagine it must be 400 or something. What's the scale? I don't even know what the scale is. But no, I've never tested my IQ. I know that when I was in high school, I got D's and F's. I went to summer school every year, and I also, I had trouble like just fitting in and everything like that. I just didn't want to be there. Didn't see the reason to be there. Wasn't interested in anything. I went to summer school. I had to take 2 classes every summer just to make up for the credits that I failed in the regular year. And so I always just thought it was stupid. I thought, there's, I'm not, when we talk about self-worth, my self-worth was pretty low. And so my thing is, I was working at McDonald's. Again, I didn't think I was smart enough to work any place besides McDonald's, or, I didn't even have the ambition like to leave the McDonald's. I was thinking maybe I could be like, assistant manager one day or something. And, and then it was the military, which again, I was kind of like, my dad was talking to me about the military. We have a very military family. Like the Wroolies are all, of all served. So when we talked to me about it, a recruiter came in and, they're talking to me about stuff. What would you like to do? And I was like, I don't know. I'd like to be a cop. And I was like, I don't know why I said I'd be a cop, but like, we'll give you this language learn. We'll give you this test. We're giving everyone at the time a language learning test. And they gave me this thing, and they said, your scores are really good on this test. You're really good at learning languages. We'd like you to be a linguist. And I was like, I failed French. I honestly failed French class. That was one of the classes I failed. Right. I think I could count to 10 maybe. But it was like, I'm really not good at languages. I told them that, but then they basically said, well, they send you to this really good school and everything. So, and basically they told me I would probably get Russian as a language. And then after basic training, they told me Chinese. So there I was thinking I'm not very smart. And then I'm like learning one of the hardest languages in the world. I mean, me and like 1.2 billion people. So like, talk about like, and the 1.2 billion people speak Chinese better than I did, but it was still impressive for me. But it was like that. So when we think about IQ, when I say that anybody can learn how to do this, I think they can if they apply themselves, right? Is that internal thought. And I talked about this in a video the other day where we talked about if you have a hardware problem or software problem. A lot of times we think that we have a hardware problem. Like I'm just not physically, like I just don't, I don't have a high enough IQ to do this, or I'm just not capable of doing this. When really it is like it's a software problem. It's a problem to be solved like every other problem, and you might have to put more time into it. So that's a roundabout way of saying it, but I honestly think that most I've seen people try to learn stuff and quit because I've noticed I've tried to learn stuff and quit. We all know what it's like when you're like, okay, I'm gonna learn machine learning. I'm gonna learn machine learning, or I'm gonna learn a bit of I'm going to learn some TensorFlow. And you start going and you start reading about it, all the stuff, your enthusiasm goes, and it gets really hard, and you're like, eh. So, it's that bit where you're thinking, I'm just not capable of this. But I can remember not thinking I was capable of learning, Visual Basic. I was like, this is like, wow, I'm such a fraud. If they only saw, there's no way I'm going to do this. How am I going to, continue down this route when this is like way, like I just do not have a brain capable of handling this. So, and I think most people, we all have that point where we give up. And I think the times when you really go through it, it's like you're forced to. Like I would tell you, learning Chinese, like if learning Chinese was voluntary, dude, I would like, yes, I would have probably given up like that first month. I would definitely given up like the first week, right? But it's something about having a drill sergeant shouting in your face, or having, the at the time that we just gone, Desert Shield had started. So there's something about, so there's like this whole, okay, well, if you drop out, you go to the infantry and all this stuff. It's like, wow, it's like, sometimes just that, that when you have someone pushing into it, or that your back is against the wall. And that was the same with coding for me. It was like, am I really going to go back to the factory and work? It was like, I can remember, when you think about the days that I was just genuinely scared of, like, they're just going to figure out that I don't know what I'm doing. They're going to figure out that, I'm not capable of doing this stuff. And, and I'm going to have to, like, what am I going to tell people? Like, I'm just, do I go back to the factory and go, yeah, it didn't work out, and it was just that, so that fear had me hit the books. And it wasn't something like, like when I say I'm going to give up caffeine, right? And it lasts a week, whatever. When I went vegetarian and for like a few months, like it was like, there was a point where I'm thinking, you know what, this sucks. I don't like being vegetarian. Although I agree with it entirely for those of you guys who are. Boy, I'm really going off a tangent here, aren't I? But anyway, I don't know what the IQ. Like I think I think once you start to, like, when someone, if you could find a reason why it's not possible, you're going to believe that reason. I think that's what I always think. Kevin, how are you? See, Ahmed says, I'm mainly Android developer, but as you said, I am doing web backend and some front end skills. Cool. You are right. A software engineer should know what already said. But I know some people that are only in one. I know. I used to know. There was a DBA, DBAs, like one of the investment banks I work at. There was like these people were like, we had to go to the DBA, the database management team, and all the DBAs. We wrote the schemas because we were the developers, but we had to clear it through them, and they would go, again, they would go, I don't know if I like the structure of this, whatever. And they would do other stuff, and they would start to redo it. I'm like, but that doesn't work because that's not what the application is supposed to do. But they didn't know code. They only knew databases. To me, it was like, it was weird. It was like, how could you, like, aren't you interested in learning code? Like, software developers, we like make stuff, and you're like looking after the servers. Like, aren't you interested in this? But no, they were well paid. So I always think, like, when there's market troubles or whatever, like a recession, it's those people, the one trick ponies, that are going to be less valuable. I mean, you want that person who could fill 2 or 3 roles if really needed. So I think it's good to learn all those different skills. Of course, you're going to be like really good at just a couple of them. See, Fizzle says the games development is a very nasty industry. You'll be work long hours, very hard under such stress for an average pay or less. That's what I've heard. Like, it's that, if everybody wants to do it, then, there's, the highly paid developers are Salesforce developers, SharePoint developers. I don't know if they still are, but they were, because there weren't very many of them. And that work just, I mean, it's boring. It's so boring. Well, in my opinion, it's boring. You might be like a SharePoint guy, go, SharePoint's the best thing ever, man. You got documents, you got lists, you got like, user management. But my God. Let's see. Some people already in one track. Sorry, you should continue on with this. Oh, yeah, are in one track and they won't change their tracks. Actually, they're genius. Yeah, I don't know. It's because I've known people like who were like, one investment banks. People work on these old systems, and they were all command line stuff. They weren't interested in learning anything new, but they were highly paid because there was like no more developers that knew that stuff. So them being like the experts in that old technology, they were really well paid because again, it was supply and demand. There was not many people who could do it, and they charged really high rates. Of course, my fear with that would always be that eventually those systems get replaced, and then then you're the last guy who knows how to develop film or whatever. You're just ignored. Let's see. Hey Joe, Eric, where do you go in Play Console to check your daily IAP sales? Much like you check your sales and trends in App Store Connect, you go to the order management page. Let me see if I could. I wonder if I could just show you mine. I guess make sure I get rid of all the client stuff here real quick. So yeah, on the main page, not in the app, but you got the main page there. You basically got order management, and you have everything listed there, like all the transactions. So yeah, that's kind of like a, it's not the easiest thing to read. What I would do, and what we do when we do our daily revenue reports, is we just go and look at the what is it? The Google. We would go to the Google Play. I can't remember. I wrote a document on how to do it, but when I'm looking at on a day-to-day basis, I'm just looking at the order management report, so I could go through and see the order IDs, and then I'm not going to show it because I don't know if I could show the order IDs or anything, but so I can see all my in-app purchases and all that kind of stuff. So it's like that's where I go to look at it. There might be other places now because Google Play is always changing. Let's see. Fizzle said, coming from game dev, I could tell you business software is much, much, much more lucrative, easier, with less stress. It has some stress, of course, because with business, you always have the software needs to be seen. Yeah, I mean, and the important part is that they have the budget to pay for it. Yeah, I mean, and there's like, it's not the most exciting. Like if you could, like, I can remember getting excited about reports, like when I learned Crystal Reports, which is this reporting. Like I did a lot of stuff in Microsoft Access initially, and I started looking at Crystal Reports. And if it's something you could see that you would use, then you like, if you can get excited about that stuff, then great. Like I'm sure there's somebody out there who's like excited about SharePoint development. I'm sure there's really SharePoint developers out there who are really excited about what they do. I hope I never meet them, but I'm sure they are, and they're probably really well paid because they bring that passion into their work. Charles also says, yes, I got a mail which says serving is limited on my account yesterday after I tried to boost my app for install. So does it mean the ad limit is removed? I won't get impressions? No, I think when the ad limit is removed, you should get more impressions. But I think in the meantime, you should probably put some other monetization, like some other mediation networks in there. So at least that way because if you're going to start to get those, because every time they limit it, you're losing money. So if you have that, or if they suspend it for any reason, or temporarily, or they temporarily stop the ads, you're temporarily suspended or whatever, then at that point, at least you'll see the other networks start to take over. Like it doesn't remove the placement; it just removes the feed from the ads. Don't worry, I say more than 20 years. I'm way more than 20 years old. Okay. Let's see. F is IQ for adults doesn't mean a thing because your responses will be altered by your experience, and intelligence won't be tested. IQ That's only relevant for young kids up to 15 years old. Yeah, I've never really, you know, what is 100 is average. I know 100 is. I did know that, Morris. Thanks, Morris. 100 is average, but there are different kinds of intelligence: math, music, language, etc. Oh, okay. Fist 007 said, "When I was a child, I wanted to be an airline pilot. Now I fly planes on the simulator." Just as good. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be a writer. That was my thing. I wanted to write, and I kind of thought that would be like the best way of like not having to talk to people. I just be the quiet, shy kid, and so if I could just be a writer. And then in school, like I was on the newspaper staff. That was my one thing that I was into in high school. And then when I finally went to college after the Army, I started off in journalism, but then I talked myself out of it, thinking there was like, again, I'm not smart enough, I don't know about, So then I went to, I mean, no offense to teachers, but I went to the history teacher route, thinking, okay, I'll just be a history teacher. And then when I got done with that, I moved to England, and then it was just like, it was like I started, from scratch. So let's see. Morris says, speaking multiple languages is a high IQ indicator. Ah, 谢谢. Wow, 你太客气. Come on. See. Smash Highlight says, yeah, developing a game will be a big undertaking. I'm working on a simple 3D platformer in Unity. Optimistically, it will probably be 6 months of development. I'll let you know how it goes. Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff, at least building up the skills, There's many times where I started working on something, never finished it, and then like a contract comes along and I've got those skills and I'm able to demonstrate those skills. And just, and people would say, oh, but you don't have production experience or whatever. It's like, well, yeah, but I have experience. Like it's, a lot of that stuff you take in with you. Say, so my dad was a pilot for 45 years. He had an average IQ. Okay. College students in the 70s could fail their way into the jungles of Vietnam. Yeah, that was it. When I joined the Army in 1990, in October 1990, and that's when Desert Shield was starting. And I tell people this sometimes. It's like the only war that we knew at that time, at my age, was Vietnam. It was like, and that was like, and during the 80s, like every movie was about Vietnam, like how the horrors of Vietnam. So that was kind of a scary thing at the time. Although it was, I mean, there's been so many wars since, but I probably shouldn't get into this topic, really. But Fizzo was up. DB days know the DB inner workings much more details than the software does. I know. They can make crappy software code run as fast as possible. That is true. I know, but but still, they're like, I don't know. It's like, like, don't you want to be the guy who creates the stuff and not just the one who like the support guy? Let's see. Morris says Shopify is a new sales point freelancing cash. So here, okay. So those old systems get replaced. The next guys will get a high pay, are those who can rewrite that old tech into the new one. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, it's almost like it's worth it for those old guys to learn the new stuff. But I remember working in the place where, there was like this other team. So I was on the development team, like, and on the next, like, it was like rows of desks, and the next ones over were the guys who worked on this old system. I can't remember what the name of the system was, but I know it was like, it wasn't Java. It was like it was an older language than Java, I think. And they were the only ones who knew it. And they would come in and were like, they'd read the paper. It was just kind of like, still like we were like, our team was stressed all the time. And they were just kind of like, they read the paper, they chat about the weather. They were just, and they weren't that much older, but they just acted older. It was weird. They were like not, they weren't interested in the technology or learning anything new. See, Morris says, SharePoint, not SalesPoint. Oh, okay, yes. Shopify is a new SharePoint. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So, Fizzlebo says, so in game dev, the managers and the business owners know that you do it for passion, and there are more game developers on the job market than there are a demand for them. So the equation is easy. Yeah, I think that's, and also there's got to be some excitement to be able to create something that you're really proud of, and I get proud, like I say, hey, check out this sortable, filterable table. Wow, that's awesome. Like, but it's, yeah, yeah, but yeah, I could understand that that's the case. So was it COBOL? It may, no, I don't think it was COBOL. It may actually, it may have been Java. It may have been like, I can't remember what it was. I remember them telling me and me thinking like, like I'd heard of it. It might have been COBOL. I can't remember what it was. Let's see. FSO was Shopify is an e-commerce platform. How's it the new SharePoint? I think we're talking about not in terms of the functionality, but just that one thing, that high-paying job that freelancers could get into, that sort of like people are flocking into it because it's a high-paying job. Like there's a lot of people needing that Shopify support or that Shopify development the same way there was people needing a lot of SharePoint development, not necessarily in terms of what they do. I think is the point we're making. Cool. So I think that's it. That's the last question. We've run out of stuff. Wow, cool. Well, hey, thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I know it's kind of weird that I'm just, I've got this. You got to see it get dark behind me, right? That's cool. I hope you guys have a great week ahead. I got another video coming out tomorrow. Which yesterday I went to Bletchley Park, the birthplace of computing, and that was kind of cool. So basically filmed a quick video out there. So, actually, wait, there's a few more things here. Oh, okay. Sorry. Patrick said, one of my previous contracts I took to rewrite an app, Silverlight app. The previous lead on it thought he could finish the rewrite in 6 months. I got nowhere in 2 years. Originally, the app took 5 years. Oh, wow. It's funny how those things go, isn't it? Like I was a SharePoint developer. Sorry. I was a SharePoint developer, yeah, but I was also a Silverlight developer. So it was like we did a lot of stuff in Silverlight. We had this old system called Onyx, which was like it had a lot of VB, like client-side VB script in it. It was like Internet Explorer only application. It was kind of this weird thing where we kept it alive way longer than it should have been. And so we're writing like Silverlight components that were like communicating with the API, just so like we'd have this Silverlight embedded in this ancient framework and everything, and that it was fun though. Anil says, what can be used to develop a blogging website using Node.js? What kind of WordPress for Node.js? I don't really know. There's one called I've looked into this, but I've never used it. There's one called Ghost or something. But yeah, that's something you go. I don't know the answer to that. You probably have to Google that one, because WordPress is like, when you look at all the plugins and everything, they've got that huge. I mean, it's not the best software, but it's yeah. Morris says, got your pink shirt on. Damn right, I got my pink shirt on. Let's see, well, wait. Yeah, damn right. What are you trying to say? I like it because it shows off the muscles. Let's see. There's Ghost, but it's paid. Oh, is it paid? Okay, I did. Alvaro, hey Alvaro, how's it going? Hi Eric. I'm working as a freelance application development. My question is, how do you calculate how much the development would cost, and how do you do it based on what to base it on? I always start with the time I estimate it will need, but then also think about this calculating the cost of it is so difficult, and it's like it takes up so much time quoting because this is the kind of stuff you'll get. It's like, I need like an inventory management system. How much would something like that cost? And you're like, well, so you got to get really good at the ballparks. The ballparks pretty much say it's going to be around this. Like, we're not going to talk any further unless you're okay with that. So if you say something like, what's like probably between 8 and 10,000, or 8 and 12,000, whatever, like just to be able to throw a number out there, and that's just say, I'm not going to go away and start doing a bunch of requirements gathering so I could give you a price. You can go, oh, okay, whatever. Like, okay, well, that's too expensive, whatever. So, and you also, you have to get good at the initial ballpark. And the initial ballpark is like, we're not going to talk anymore unless you're okay with this ballpark. So kind of an idea of where of what this is going to be like. And it's not like a rude thing, because like a lot of times people just don't know. Like I say it as if it's don't waste my time, but that's not the case, because like, they just ask and you say, and I will say to people, like, you might want to talk to other app developers too, because we all charge differently. We all have different expectations of how long things would take. So you have your estimation how long how long something would take you. But you need to do some requirements gathering and everything like that. And then the key thing with the quoting is you have to have an exact specification. You have to get it as close to exact as you can, and they have to know that this, like, the creative process of this is over when development starts. Like this, unless you do something where they're paying you time and material, and you've got like a Scrum type of thing. Like Scrum doesn't work with fixed price, for example. Like it's you still if they're paying you based on time, they're paying you based on time, then every little change and tweak comes along the way. It might be annoying, but it's like, okay, well, they'll do it. But if you're doing a fixed price thing, then you got to make sure that's it. So you need to have a buffer in there. Like you can't just be like, and I know it sounds awful to say, but there's going to be something that comes up that that you're gonna have to say no to, and I hate having to do that. So have that buffer in there just to say whether or not you can handle any additional work. And there's times where like you'll do stuff like, okay, so if I do this, what I say, I normally charge whatever $50 an hour. I'll do $100 an hour because that way just it has a little bit of scope on there. There's a little bit room for scope creep, and then it's not uncommon to get to the point where you're like, dude, I'm making less than minimum wage on this project now, because it just that kind of stuff keeps coming. That's like, you have to guard those scope. You have to guard the scope with as like with your life. You have to guard it with your life. But yeah, it's a tough question, and it's like, dude, I get it wrong. I get it wrong from time to time too, and so Onyx isn't a hotel management software. It's Oracle, isn't it? No, it wasn't. It was a CRM software, I think. Let's see. Patrick says the original guy was a smart dude, but he way overestimated his skills and underestimated how long it takes to build enterprise software. That skill comes with experience. That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's the when you're first starting off, it's taking me 20 minutes. Like, and when you get like nothing takes 20 minutes. Like nothing takes 20 minutes. Because as soon as you do it in 20 minutes, they'll be like, oh, and then add this, and then add this. But you said it'd be 20 minutes. It's like, dude, you got bothering me. Jeff Plywood. Hey, Jeff, how's it going? Hey, Eric, if you're planning to sell an app in the future, is it best to stay with the native languages rather than third-party frameworks? I don't know. It depends. Whoever's going to buy the software from you, it depends why they're buying it. If they already have developers that work on it, then yeah, they might want to have that native stuff. But it depends on the skills of the developers. Like, to me, I wouldn't buy native code. So yeah, I wouldn't say so. I think there's to have a cross-platform, to be used across platform frameworks is not necessarily a bad thing. There's a lot of benefits to that. So, and some people prefer, when I tell clients like we're using a cross-platform thing, like an example is I'm working on something right now where they brought two apps to me, the Android version and the iOS version, and I took them and just rewrote them in Xamarin Forms, because the problem they had was they both behaved inconsistently. They were done by two development teams. They kind of had the same look, but not really. They had different fonts, different stuff. They behave differently. And to be able to say, okay, like when we make a change in one framework, it works the same on both, right? To them, that was a huge benefit. I mean, it added a little bit in terms of the APK and the IPA sizes, but it was still, it still is a better product that they have, just because if they ask for a change, it's not like, okay, I need to all right, it's going to be, so Jeff, I don't think it really makes that big a difference. It depends on who's buying it. And I've never sold software. I have to say this, I've never sold software. So I've sold software services, but I've never took an existing application and sold it to anybody. I do know, I've had people come to me and say they wanted to buy EarSpy in the past, and I was like, and then they say, well, I'll give you I don't know, $5,000 for it or something. I'm like, dude, it makes more than that a month. And then the last thing I wanted to do was end up in a situation where they're going, ooh, the code doesn't look that great. It's like, screw it, get lost. So, let's see. Charles says, yes, ad requests are going up. what can I do to get the limit removed? I think just wait. I mean, as the time goes, like every developer has this. I think they say like the first month or so, they do have those ad libs in it. So, um, let's see. Fizzle will say, yeah, but inventory management should track lots, perishables. Yeah, there's loads of stuff. Like there's loads of stuff in there. There's like when people ask you like the one-off like question, like I want an inventory management system, or I want a dating app like Tinder. You're like, you want a dating app like Tinder? Are we talking about, you know, like what features are we talking about? Like, and then there's a further conversation to be had there. So you got to get used to the just being able to give a ballpark, saying it could cost anywhere from this to this, because basically what that does is it shortens the conversation. So like if they're thinking, if they're thinking it's easy, like it might be a fun conversation to talk about. Like, okay, well, let's talk about what it will do, whatever. But I have sat in so many coffee shops with people who have their app ideas, and we go through everything. We have a long, hour-long conversation. Maybe I'll drive an hour to get out there. So we meet at some Costa on the other side of the country, and we sit there and we have the conversation, and they don't have a budget at all, but they think they could do a Kickstarter campaign and raise all this. So we have this long conversation where they want a detailed quote, and you're like, there's too much work for no reward. Just basically you're just doing all this work for free. So the ballpark is to make sure that let's keep these conversations short. Let's keep, if there's a budget, then we'll do it. If you want to, and what I really should do, or should have done, is charge for those initial meetings. But I don't know, a chat is a chat. So, but it does get expensive, and it's very time consuming. Where was I? Depending on the answers, a piece could be even 500 to 50,000. That's true, or much more. Yeah, exactly. So, Oliver, hey, how's it going? Oliver says, do you remember the first time giving a price for an app gig? Bad experience? Yes, very. So there's two probably. I can't remember which one I did first, but they were like the first one. I did one for it was like a game for a trade show event, and this is one where I thought, okay, I've got this team in the Philippines. I got a developer. He's been working he was a Corona SDK guy. So okay, you work on this. You'll do the app, and then I had a designer, and he was doing stuff. So we gave a quote. The designer gave some really, really good design work, and I thought it would take I think I quoted 3,000 pounds for this application, and it was just going to be used for this trade show. And then the designer went missing. Like he just fell off the face of the earth, came back and said, and it was like a full-time thing. But he says, oh, my internet went down or whatever. And he was just very unreliable, to the point where I had the clients just saying, we're a bit concerned that we haven't seen anything yet. And I was like, yeah, no. And then the developer also, he was like, oh yeah, no, I'm making progress. Yeah. So when am I going to see something? Well, yeah, soon. And it's like, I don't think he did anything. It was such a, so this was like, I spent, this is one what I can remember the stress being so much that I thought, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? And then I did it myself. I mean, I didn't do the design. That's when I brought Sandy in. Sandy was like, she came in to take over from the designer who disappeared. He eventually, sorry, everyone, I'll just be right back. Hold on. That's my Amazon delivery. Hold on. All right, I'm back. Sorry. Man, see that? Amazon. So yeah, it was a very stressful thing. The other thing, so that eventually was able to get it done. They were very happy with it, but that was me working. I think I worked continuously on that thing for like a weekend, like 4 straight days, like of just like into the night, like just getting it working. And the developer got rid of him. It was my first experience of just having people just really let you down. Like all the promises, because we had like a decent amount of time to do it. In the end, we had like a week, and it was just down to me, and that was really really bad. So so I mean, I got paid for it. It was not. We spent a lot more doing it than actually doing that. The other one was, again, I quoted about £3,000 for a guy who was not very technical, and he had this idea for an app, and I met with him. We had a few conversations. He was very secretive about it, and um, and I think I quoted about the same £3,000 because it was really simple. It was really simple, like technically, very simple, like just um, so I thought, 6 weeks, but I really thought it would take like 3 weeks. Like it was just like kind of thinking like it's not difficult. I'll do the code myself. This is like not a difficult application. And it wasn't like the technical sides of it. Everything was fine. The designs, well, a lot of back and forth on designs, and it was data driven. So I gave him an admin site to add everything in, but he wanted to bulk import it. So he gave me all these. I said, well, I could do a CSV import, I suppose. I'm just conceding everything. I was like, and he was working on getting the data. So like as soon as he gets the data done, and so he went away and created all these hundreds and hundreds of documents of the data to import, and all of them had like little notes off to the side, like for me, like, Eric, instead of this, could you put this in there? Like, so like I didn't read these because there was hundreds of documents, like 400 documents. I wrote a script that would just import them all in, like finally. And there were changes. Oh, this bit, I don't like this bit. I don't like this bit. I don't like this bit. So like the scope creep really got to me. That was like the biggest loss I've ever done on an application was that one. It was like, when I say take about 6 weeks, it took over a year. And it was just like, it got really contentious. He would come back to me finally towards the end when we had everything. He's like, the design, we did the design first. So he's happy with the design, everything. So, and then finally at the end, he said, oh, I think you should look a bit more professional. I go, well, can you tell me what you need? He goes, just more professional. And, of course, Sandy had done a really good job on it. I thought it looked great. And so he said, so how long is it going to take? And I said, oh, I don't know. He goes, I'm running a business here. That answer is not good enough. I go, well, looking more professional is not good enough either. And it really kind of, in the end, I don't think it got any downloads, maybe got 20. It was just such a huge disappointment. It nearly put me off client work forever. And I've had other stuff that, we talk about, that was one where it says, I need to finish this one. And it was just like, we talk about making minimum wage. I made far less than that on that. So that was bad. This is one of the reasons why when I take on a project, I will drag my feet a little bit with quotes. I'll make sure that we get everything right. I'll do this kind of like, just to make sure that, and sometimes I'll quote a bit higher than, just to make sure I don't end up in that kind of situation again. So if somebody, like, I'll have a situation where I give a ballpark, and then they'll come back and say, okay, I've got a different idea, or I've got, instead of that, like or even after I give a quote. So I go through the whole spending a couple hours giving a detailed quote, making this document done. So a couple hours for free just to give them the quote. And then they come back and go, okay, never mind that. I got a different app idea. And they're just like, dude, I can't, if money has to be spent at some point. I can't work for free. And that's one of the problems. It's one of the problems with the quoting process. So sorry about running off you guys. So let's see. Morris says, use native code, but the app itself is a product. Fistople says, for MVP, it's better to go with framework to get something out fast. But you want the product to start getting traction. Native is most cases is a must. We talk about native. I think we're talking about Objective C, Swift. Or are we talking about? Because to me, I put a lot of stuff out there in Flutter or in Xamarin Forms, and people are they're fine with it. But yes, use cross-platform tools if the backend is a product. Okay, yeah. Oh, maybe that might be it. So, okay, let's see. Patrick says, I worked in a warehouse management system and it even tracked the size of the layers of the product. How many layers per pallet, weight, etc. So it can be slots of correct size. Always overestimate costs. Yes, always overestimate costs. or try to get a cost of time and material thing in there. Let them share in the pain of scope creep, because you're not, like, as a developer, you're not usually not the one who brings in scope creep. Let's see. Thanks, guys. Let's see. Physical says a drawing board. Okay, wait. When you think you've got your design as solid as a rock, someone in the shop floor or just remembered this business case that nobody thought of before, and you're back to the drawing board. I never do processing for a small client because it will never have the budget for it. That's true. Xamarin and Flutter is considered somewhat native because it compiles down a native language. Yeah, well, if that's what we're talking about, then yes, definitely. If we're talking about, when I think of native, I think of the actual native code. So 2 different code bases. AAW Alan Weber says, or Alan Wroolie, my cousin, says, you look stressed out. I think you need a break from coding. I think it was because I ran to the door when the delivery came, and then I ran back, and I'm like, so yeah. Anyway, so yes, I'm up, as AW says, I'm a bit stressed out. I did say goodbye earlier. I know we had a few more questions come on, but yes, pizza time. I'm gonna try not to do the pizza, but yes, we're gonna take a break. Hey everybody, thanks for joining the live stream this week. Sorry for my little run off. You guys, talk amongst yourself, and I hope you guys have a great week ahead. We got a video coming out tomorrow. I'm going to try to get them done twice a week. On my schedule at the moment is Tuesdays and Fridays to get them done, trying to get back into the routine of things. And but thanks for joining the live stream. I'll talk to you guys. We'll do this again next weekend or next Monday. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll talk to you next time.
Winterland, tell me all your secrets. Fill me in on your wildest moment.